Hi, I'm Debbie from the Normal Paranormal Group, and today is one story at a time. And my story is going to be entitled Shadows. Yes, you heard shadows, plural, more than one type of shadow. And this is through the decades of my life with personal experiences. Not through the horse's mouth or from someone else. This is my personal experiences. And the very first experience that I could really actually remember was when I was 10 years old and I woke up. Something made me wake up, and there on the wall was the Hat Man. Never heard of him, never seen anything like this. I was petrified. Being 10 years old, I was petrified. What is this man with no face, no distinguished anything, just one solid mass? He had a top hat on, and that's all I could tell. And he just stood there, and I could feel him staring at me, even though he had no facial features. You could tell he was staring at me. And I closed my eyes thinking it's my imagination. Then I opened my eyes. He's still there. Nothing disappeared. He's still there. I closed my eyes again, rubbed my eyes. I looked up, and there he is, still there. I started praying. Yes, I started praying and looked, and he was still there. And then I started crying as I was praying. And I turned over and I seen my sister, twin sister. She was sleeping. And all of a sudden I seen like a handprint on her shoulder. And it looked like if you put your hand in black ink, that's what it looked like. And I turned around, he was gone. The image of that handprint was gone. And so I got a little older, and there was an image of a Hat Man up in our attic, but it was like a permanent image. Like the stones were discolored in that image. And so I tried doing dream interpretations at that time, and I was laying on the couch, and a black entity, it was like more than a shadow. It had power to hold me down. No, not sleep paralysis, people. No, I was woken up by the ghost girls that lived in our house. They were calling my name to wake me up, and I couldn't budge, and I could barely turn my head, and I could see a blonde hair and a brunette haired little girl on the side of me trying to get me up. And so with all my strength and energy, I tried to move my foot over, and I touched my twin. And as soon as I touched my twin, it got off of me, and I seen this big black mass just fly across the curtains into the front hall. Yes, it went into the front hall and probably up the stairs. I mean, this was our haunted house in Chicago where I experienced this. And every now and then, you'd be at the kitchen table or on the couch, and you would see a shadow fly by. And you think it's your imagination at first, or like, what just ran by, and nobody knew. And then even when I grew up and moved, I still had experiences with this shadow. But the strangest shadow I came across was in this building I lived in, and I was going to go up the stairs to an apartment, and there was a massive gray shadow, not black, gray. This is the first time I ever seen an image of gray. and I froze. Everything in me just froze. So in my head, I said, don't turn around, face it. And I started walking backwards. And every step I took backwards, it took a step forwards towards me. And I was watching this, and I said, why is it coming down the stairs? And finally, I got around the corner and ran in my apartment and shut the door. And I had continuous dreams of that door flying open and this blackness with the wind. It was wind just blowing. And after the third dream, I beat this entity. It never showed up again. This gray shadow. And then I had it to where I lived in this house, and in the blackness was a black mass. And anyone who's seen this, yes, they are darker than in the dark. You could actually see them move. And I said, nope, I'm not going to be afraid. No, because fear is a really bad factor. Because once you are afraid and they know it, you give them the strength. They feed off your aura. And that's not a good thing. So just take a deep breath and just keep on repeating, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. You could beat that. And there's reasons why a lot of them show up in, the ones that show up in shadow forms, that run across the room, or you see them go into a room, they do not have enough energy to fully form into a solid corporeal type being. So, if you could control your fear, you could beat them. And so, if any of you's had like a multitude of different current direct connections to things like this, and even animals, I've seen animal shadows too. Yes. So try to stay brave, try not to be afraid, and it's easier than it sounds. And believe me, I was afraid a few times, but I have my belief system, I have my prayers, and I believe in my angels and that. So if you have any experience with multitude of shadows, let us know. We're here to listen and to let you know you're not alone. And I was lucky that I had my twin with me to talk to about this, since we both experienced it. So this is Deborah Henkin. That's me, Debbie, yes. And to all my members out there, let us know your story. So, this is Debbie from the Normal Paranormal Group. Until then, keep in touch.